Now you may be wondering, why the heck am I at a BP gas station? Well, this BP gas station holds a very special place in my heart because this was actually where Smith's Diesel Performance started in November 2021. This place used to be a two-bay, just steel shop, and this is where we started. I worked for my dad out of that shop for, I think it was almost 7 or 8 years that we worked together here. Just kind of a starter shop. We had a friend who had told us about just a small steel frame shop. We used to be about 20 minutes from here. The shop that we were at was just kind of difficult. It was a shared lot. We didn't have a lot of space, so it was really difficult for us to expand and grow. And my dad was picking up a lot of work. So then he was like, well, we got to get out of the city area over there in Mason. So we found this place, but it needed a lot of work. Like, it was really run down. It was actually an irrigation company that originally had this building. Towards the end of it, we're kind of just using it for dumping junk inside of that shop. So we got in there, cleaned it out, got it usable, and that's how my dad's shop started. But then eventually I wanted to kind of bring the shop more towards the performance side of things and keep the shop moving forward, keep up with the modern technology, and make sure we have a quick in and out service. My dad and I kind of came to an agreement that we were going to start a new shop, Smith's Diesel Performance. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. That was supposed to be November 2021. So I got all the things in order: the business insurance, the LLC, the whatever tax ID, you name it. The doing business as Smith's Diesel instead of LLC. And we got everything rolling on that. November 2021 comes around, and my dad, he decides that he doesn't want to move forward with Smith's Diesel together. I still wanted to move forward with it, so I said, well, until I find a shop, would you be okay with me basically renting a bay from you? Now, mind you, this is a two-bay garage, and we're going to be sharing pretty much the same customer base. But yeah, we had a lot of good memories here at this old shop. This wasn't the first shop I worked in. My dad actually used to be a mobile mechanic, and I worked with him. We had an 86 F-150 we would go around in, and we would load up all the tools in the back. We would show up at somebody's house and pull an engine out, drop it in the back of his 86 F-150, bring it back to my dad's house, and we would rebuild it in the garage and then drop it back in their truck a couple days later. It's super noisy by the road, so we're gonna move back over here and I'll tell you some more stories about this old shop. Hold on. Oh. I'm gonna bust a hip. I'm getting up in years. Should have made you get up there. I don't know, you're young and nimble.
There,
I bet you could put your leg up here, no problem.
This?
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
You want to see me try to do that?
Yeah, I did.
Well, too bad.
Actually.
Now, this quarry has been dug out so much more than when we first started. That building wasn't even there. That's Harvey's old shop. Huge shop. I mean, that place is just massive. I mean, you can fit full semi-trucks inside of there. Downside, it's in a gravel pit. So, you're trying to put together an engine or turbos on, and everything, you turn your head, you look back, it's coated in dust. So it just wasn't a good location. Because my dad asked me, I've got so much room in here. He's like, well, I think we could run a shop out of this together. We'd have so much more space. I'm like, nah, I'm not. I'd rather work with a small shop for now and have a clean work environment than have to deal with dust and trash getting inside of my engines. Especially once we got into racing, it's like you got to have a clean race engine. We didn't stay here because the owner sold the property. I wasn't planning on staying here because me and my dad were splitting shops. He liked the idea of Smith's Diesel Performance. He didn't think it was sustainable because initially when I started Smith's Diesel Performance, I was like, all right, I want to just let's make trucks go fast. Let's build these. This is a 650 horse, which isn't, crazy nowadays. But, back in 2013, 650 plus horsepower and, trucks like these weren't as common. Making trucks go faster, bigger injectors, bigger turbos. I was like, I want to go start building pulling trucks and drag racing trucks for anybody that comes through the door. Well, I very quickly realized that's very unrealistic because not everybody that comes through the door needs 1,000 horsepower because they need their trucks to work. So I was like, all right, now how do we make it more realistic? Well, let's build trucks like this that can still be driven on the street. That's initially how the shop truck, the race truck started. I was like, and I want to build 1,000 horsepower truck, could still be hooked to a trailer. Like our first shop truck, this first 6.4 crew cab. We did drive it around a lot, but very quickly the race truck did not become a streetable, usable truck. So I kind of was like, all right, I guess we need multiple trucks. But this one was one that I was like, let's make it practical. you know, everyday driver truck that's reliable, looks good, is fast, it's fun to drive. You know, my dad was more of the, you know, well, why put extra money into it when you can leave it stock and get the job done? And he was big on used parts, so like he has a big stockpile of used parts at his shop, like for days, turbos, injectors, and alternators, you know, you name it. He'll take whole trucks and tear them down, put them on shelf, and he's got parts for days for Power Strokes. When I first started my shop, I offered used parts. Someone comes in with a blown turbo, like, hey, I got this brand new one that's going to be $900, or I got this used one, $250 plus install. Now, the issue with the used parts is there's no quality control. You could throw a used turbo on a truck and it'll last, you know, a couple days, you know, or it could last 5 years. So for a while, what we would do, we'd throw a used part on, and I'd say, hey, you've got a 90-day warranty on this part, and if it fails, the money you paid me originally for that used part, let's say $250 for a turbo, will then credit towards a brand new one, because then I know the new one's going to be good for a long time. Then now it's inconvenient for the customer, and if it's past that 90 days, then that felt like that was just wasted money. So I don't know when it was, maybe 2.5 years ago, I said no more used parts. Even like now, I do have some used parts at the shop. I had a customer call me the other day. He had a 2017 F750, and he said, hey man, I just blew the turbo, you got a used one laying around, how much you want for it? And I said, well, I got one I just pulled off of a 2019. He's like, well, how much you want for it? Now mind you, brand new, they're like $2,000 for a turbo for that truck. Take it. You know, I was like, I don't want $1 for it because it's used. If you put that on and it blows the turbo seals out of it because you had a different issue that caused it to fail and blows your motor up, then you're gonna come yelling at me saying, oh, your turbo you gave me blew it up. I don't do used parts anymore. But that was one difference that me and my dad, we didn't quite agree on. He wanted to just stick with OEM used parts. Now he did enjoy, he likes building fast stuff. He had a 6-liter with one of the first built 6-liter, or not even built, but Quaker 6.0s that we built. We did a KC Stage 2 regulated return. Pretty sure we put a lift pump on it, just a fast, had a 175/30 Warren injectors in it. Man, like we had never built anything like that ever. You know, fastest thing we had been in was like a tuned and deleted 6.4, which they're quick, but we had never gotten a 6.0 to move like that, you know, and that was 2016 when we built that truck. It was a Burgundy King Ranch truck, really fun truck. My dad went through 4 transmissions in a year. That's how hard he was driving that thing. So he ended up buying a transmission out of a bus, $850. He bought it off eBay, shipped it to the door. He said, well, it's in a bus, it's got to be heavier duty. So he slapped that in there. You'd never believe who ended up buying this built, probably around 600 horsepower 6.0. A pastor. He comes in the shop and is like, hey, are any of these trucks for sale? And my dad was like, the only one I have is this built, you know, 6.0. He's like, well, does it run good? My dad's like, oh yeah, it runs real good. We didn't really have a name for it, but there's this hill. It's like it's a S basically going uphill. And my dad would drift that all the way up that hill. I kid you not, my dad is a skilled driver. He's got skills in that department for sure. So let's say someone was on the fence about him having them do like a bunch of work to their truck. Like he's like trying to sell them a bigger turbo or injectors or cylinder heads or whatever. And he would say, you know, you ever been in a truck that's slightly just mildly modified is like what he would say usually, just mildly nothing crazy. And they would come back. I remember one guy, he was like on the fence of having us do injectors and a turbo and stuff. And he said, but he kept saying, I want my truck to have 800 horsepower. He's like, I need 800 horsepower. My dad was like, do you know how much 800 horsepower is? He's like, I know that's what I want in my truck. I'm like, that's a lot of power, dude. And he was like, well, why don't you come in for a test drive in mine that has like 550, 600, and then you tell me again if you want 800 horsepower. So my dad, they get in the truck, he hops in the truck, he comes back, he hops out the truck, he looks at me, he was like, where's your bathroom? He literally scared the crap out of this guy. And I asked my dad, because he runs inside, runs to the bathroom, and he goes to the bathroom and he comes back out and he's like, where do I sign? And I asked my dad, I was like, what did you do? He was like, oh, I drifted the hill all the way up. And I told him it was only 600 horsepower. And then he asked him again, he's like, sure you want 800? He's like, no, 500. 500's good, 500's good. A lot of good memories. I mean, I learned a lot from my dad. Like, I enjoyed working at the shop with him here. We worked really well together. You know, he taught me a lot. He was a quick worker too. When we were pulling 6.0s out, we would always have it wasn't like a competition, but we would sometimes set a timer from being fully bolted up, driving in the shop, fluids drained, and then having the engine on the floor. Like, we would have and nobody else could help you. Like, we would just keep going back, battling back and forth. I think I got it down to, it was under an hour, where It was just ripping and roaring but I think my dad was like a minute or an hour and 20 something minutes for the longest time. Like I couldn't get it under like an hour 30, hour 37 or something. Me and my dad worked well together, but we just had different ways we wanted to take the business. And that is how Smith's Diesel Performance moved from here to here. And this is Smith's Diesel's performance for the last 3.5 years, give or take. January 2022 is when we moved into this shop and got it set up. It wasn't my first choice at a shop. Actually, it's probably one of the worst customers I've ever had. I did a bunch of work on his truck and then he stiffed me like $2,000, but he got me this shop. So, I really can't be too mad at him, but I ain't gonna drop no names. A customer of mine told me about it. Hey, there's this old gas station down in South Lebanon. It's small, but he's like, I think, it's a good place to start. I'm sure rent would be cheap. Our old landlord that owned the place up the street actually bought this property for me to rent from him. So it was nice. I think they wanted $150,000 for the building at the time. I didn't have $150,000, brand new business, but it was nice of him he actually still owns it. I really didn't want to buy it, and I still don't want to buy this place because it's a dump, to be honest. I mean, we've cleaned it up and made it a little nicer, but the goal of the new shop is to make it nice and have a nice shop, face of the shop, so to speak. Because we do build and work on a lot of nice trucks, so we're trying to represent the shop better, and this shop just really wouldn't do it. We actually had a customer the other day who, mind you, he has I think it's a Lariat or a Platinum 2021, custom, Carly BDS, lift, really nice truck. I think it's like $80,000 truck. He said, first time I pulled up here, pretty hesitant to leave my truck there. Not gonna lie. But then he said, after I talked with you and, got to see you build a lot of trucks like this, he was like, I had no worries in my mind that you could get my truck taken care of. And the appearance of a shop does make a big difference sometimes. I've actually been somewhat hesitant sometimes. I had to get some wheels and tires put on the Platinum. And I pull up to this dingy tire looking shop, and then I open the door and they just have a lineup of 4G Auto wheels, KG1s, American 4s, JTX 4s, like $80,000 worth of wheels just sitting in the showroom. And the shop looks like this on the outside. It's just like you never know. Now, this shop has served a purpose for sure. We just don't have any space here. I mean, the bays are extremely small. With a truck like this inside, in the wintertime, we want to be able to close the doors to stay warm. You have, from my toolbox to the front of the truck, you've got like 2 feet. Mind you, this is a crew cab short bed. This shop has helped us grow. We've gotten a lot of trucks in and out of this shop, and it served its purpose, kept our overhead costs low, and but we're just moving on to a new shop. We're still keeping this place, but we are going to move on to the new shop, get the face of Smith's Diesel to be a very professional looking shop, just to reflect our quality of service. So let's go over to the new shop real quick. We'll go check it out. We'll pull Big Blue in real quick, show you how much room we've got compared to this. Let's continue our tour. There we have it. That's so much more space. Your cart, our rolly workbench, still have room because we're probably going to have, Craig was saying it might be a good idea to actually put a sink out here just for like washing up at the end of the day. I kind of want to keep it in the bathroom because we have 2 bathrooms. But like this one is the smallest bay, because then these bays have even an extra, what is that, 6 feet? Of space in front of it. But this whole wall is going to be lined with shop equipment and things of that sort. That corner over there is going to be filters, fluids, and stuff of that nature. Might keep those things in the other half of the shop and just focus on keeping this area stocked with our shop equipment. One thing I hate about our current shop is how in the middle we have all our stuff in the middle. Nothing's going to be here at all, just to keep the shop clean, have no trip hazards and stuff. Now, this center lift, we're not going to use for lifting trucks. It's only a 7,000 pound lift. We just repainted it. So we're going to use this one for pulling cabs. This will be the main one for lifting trucks. But yeah, that's kind of the progression. We're real happy with where the shop has made it in the last 3 years. We've worked hard. We've got a good team that we've been able to put together so far to be able to move the shop in the right direction. We also appreciate all this online support also in the last few months when we've started to put our social media and things we do around the shop out there. We appreciate all you guys' support. I think we've collectively had, it was around 25,000 followers across all platforms, of course, but super excited that, we're able to share what we do with, people that love this type of content as well. Share a passion of mine with other people is kind of cool to me. I get to do something I love every day and get to share it with people that love to watch it and maybe aspire to build either a brand, build their own shop or do something one day, or just be able to build a truck. It's cool to be a big and, shop and all that, but it's kind of unrealistic. A lot of these influencers, they'll go out, buy a brand new truck, pull it apart and powder coat every part and put $1 million wheels on it, and there's a build, and then do it again next year. That's not realistic for the everyday guy. When I bought this truck, it was rusted out, had to put a bed on it, bone stock, like no lift, no wheels, no tires. Like, we've done it all ourselves, but over time, obviously, it's been like a 3-year project. Actually, I bought this around the same time that I moved into my first shop. I guess I'm just saying all this to say I like to be able to make this content to show people how to do quality work, what to look out for, but then also it's realistic. You can build the truck yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to ask for help. We're excited to be in this new shop. We're almost ready to get her open. We've got most of the things done. All we've got left is to run some electric airlines run, and then we're gonna get a new waste oil furnace installed on Monday, next week on the 13th, and then we're pretty much ready to turn and burn. We're gonna get everything moved in, and my goal is to have the 20th, I believe, which is a Monday after the 13th, should be our first day in this shop, working out of this shop. And then we're gonna put workstations up. I'm gonna put 2 workstations in here, and then I'm gonna have the typical one I have in my black box, but I'm gonna have one for David on the wall, probably put him in the corner where he belongs. And then I'll put another one over here by the bathroom for Jack, so that when I lay a heater in the bathroom, Jack has to suffer all day. So that's how much I appreciate my technicians. But yeah, we've got goals for the shop. We think that this shop is going to be a good stepping stone. I don't know if I want to keep this as the permanent, lifelong Smith's Diesel location, but we needed space now, and this popped up, and it's going to work, at least temporarily. Temporarily as in maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, and we'll set aside money to maybe build our dream shop out of town where we can do whatever the heck we want and not have cops crawling up our butt. Love you, T-Fox. Glad you left and went to Deerfield. Just kidding, because you were the one actually cool cop in South Lebanon, so love you. Humble beginnings of Smith's Diesel Performance. We did start with pretty much nothing. But again, thank you for watching, and I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow our socials as well. Leave a comment if you have something to say, or you like something here at the new shop, or you think we should get something for the new shop or a service we should offer. But I appreciate the support, and thanks for watching.